Welcome in Dark Core. There are more than 200 moons floating around in our solar system, and more are discovered every day. Some moons have bizarre shapes, icy or molten surfaces, and some of these moons could be hiding life in undersurface oceans right now. And with today's advanced technology, old data is being used to create incredible new images of the moons in our solar system and find new discoveries. Join us as we take a look at real images of the moons in our solar system. You might not know this, but the dwarf planet Pluto has 5 moons, but some of them are so far away they are hard to image. Pluto's biggest moon, Charon, was discovered on June 22nd, 1978. Charon is half the size of Pluto at 754 miles across, and the pair are called a double dwarf planet system because they orbit around a central point in space, not each other. In this image, you can see the difference that 40 years of technology has brought us, and this is an image of Charon as a New Horizons spacecraft flew over it in July 2015. Charon is covered with mountains and has a great canyon that stretches more than 1,000 miles, 4 times as long as the Grand Canyon in the USA and twice as deep in some places. The planet Neptune has 13 moons, and one of those is Triton. On August 25th, 1989, the Voyager 2 spacecraft flew by Triton and snapped these images. Triton is the largest Neptune moon, and it's a weird one because it's the only moon in our solar system that orbits in the opposite direction of its planet rotation. But the other amazing thing about the icy, crusty Triton is it has huge ice volcanoes and geysers that spit out water, ice, and ammonia, sometimes leaving huge craters. The largest seen on the surface is 9 miles across. Researchers say there are huge oceans of liquid water under the surface, which may have some kind of life, and a mission called Triton to get up close is being planned. Neptune won't always have this moon, though. Millions of years from now, Triton will move so close to Neptune that tidal forces will rip it apart, forming bright new rings around the planet. Right now, the planet Uranus has 27 moons that we know, but we'll look at the most unique ones. Miranda has a surface unlike any other moon in the solar system, with huge fault canyons 12 times as deep as the Grand Canyon. Umbrella is the 3rd largest uranium moon, which is blue in color because of its water, ice, and rock surface, because the planet Uranus orbits the sun on its side. The planet and its moons have extreme seasonal cycles. This means Umbrella's north and south poles will spend 42 years in complete darkness and another 42 years in continuous sunlight. Would you like to see a video about Uranus and Neptune? Some strange things have just been discovered on these ice giants. Let us know. The beautiful ring planet Saturn has a lot of moons. 82 have been discovered so far. That means we'll be spending a little time with Saturn. Pan is a small moon with a very unique shape and was discovered by the Voyager 2 probe in 1990. It has a very odd shape and is just 8.6 miles in diameter. Another of Saturn's innermost moons, Atlas, is a strange one, and some say it looks like a UFO. NASA's Cassini spacecraft snapped some amazing images of its unique flying saucer shape that's about 19 miles in diameter, but its look is nothing compared to Saturn's moon. Hyperion researchers say it looks like a space sponge because it's likely a fragment of a bigger and more ancient moon that was destroyed by a massive impact in the early solar system. When first looking at this, we bet you're saying that's no moon, but you'd be wrong. Even though Mimes clearly resembles an iconic moon-shaped fictional space station, the giant impact crater on Mimes covers a 1/3 of its diameter that measures 80 miles across with 3-mile-high walls. Whatever hit this moon was nearly ripped apart, as evidence from the fractures on the other side. And all the craters. Saturn's 6th largest moon, Enceladus, is special because researchers know it has subsurface oceans thanks to the images from NASA's Cassini spacecraft showing giant water ice plumes erupting from the surface and spraying high into the atmosphere. NASA decided to steer Cassini into one of these water vapor plumes to grab some samples. What it discovered was ice particles, salts, hydrogen, and simple organic compounds, and even complex organics. This means that Enceladus oceans meet all the requirements for life to exist. Don't worry, we didn't forget about Titan. This is the 2nd largest moon in the solar system with a nitrogen-rich Earth-like atmosphere, and its surface shows dry river networks and lakes of hydrocarbon. 13 years of data from the Cassini spacecraft with more advanced technology has given us new incredible images of Titan. It's the only other place in the solar system besides Earth that has liquid water on its surface and is packed with the complex chemicals necessary for living organisms. And NASA want to find out for sure with its Dragonfly mission, which we'll look for origins and signs of life. The Dragonfly is an 8-rotor drone that will take advantage of Titan's dense atmosphere and low gravity as it flies around looking for signs of life. Jupiter is another planet with an incredible amount of moons, some say more than 80 now. One of them, the largest moon in our solar system, Ganymede, is called the king of the moons and is even bigger than the planet Mercury. Jupiter's moon Io is the most volcanically active object in our solar system with about 240 active regions. This image put together using data from the Keck 2 telescope in Mauna Kea, Hawaii, shows a massive eruption that covers an 11 square mile area as material is ejected into space. NASA's Galileo spacecraft snapped this image of two volcanic plumes June 28, 1997, one captured on the edge of the moon, and the other right in the middle of the image with a reddish shadow. The biggest volcano on Io is Lucky, and its constantly erupting Europa is another Jupiter moon that could have life hidden beneath its thick icy crust. Is thought to be huge interior oceans that have more water than oil. The water on Earth combined, we know they are salty oceans because NASA's Galileo spacecraft had a magnetometer on board and detected something conducting electricity on Europa. Jupiter is so big that it pushes and pulls on Europa, creating heat friction that causes the surface to expand and crack. This image shows that process patches of ice in jigsaw puzzles, and the red is briny waters below coming to the ice's surface. It's thought below the surface Europa could have good conditions for life. Jupiter's moon Callisto is the outermost of the four big moons. It's about 3,000 miles in diameter. There aren't any volcanoes or underground oceans here. What is interesting is the moon is very old as the solar system, and it's geologically dead. It's also the most heavily cratered object in the solar system, and images from the Galileo spacecraft as something to look at. Our closest planetary cousin Mars has a couple of moons in orbit, and one of them will have a brutal ending. Deimos is a small moon only measuring 9 by 7 by 6.8 miles in size. The best images we have are from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Phobos is the largest of Mars's two moons and has a non-spherical shape and orbits a planet so close that it makes 3 orbits in just one day. Its most famous feature is the Stickney crater, which is 6 miles across, the sign of a huge impact which almost shattered the moon. However, Phobos is getting closer to Mars by 5.9 feet every 100 years, and in 50 million years it will collide with Mars. Finally, we head back home. The planet Earth has just one moon, and it's the last planet closest to the sun that has a moon. The moon, as we all know it, is the original wonder of our night sky. It's the 5th largest natural satellite in our solar system, and it's the only place outside of Earth that humans have set foot on. And our moon is not just some rock floating next to us in space, keeping us company on lonely nights. It's vital for our planet to maintain life by moderating the planet's axis wobble. This helps the Earth create a stable climate and a natural Earth rhythm, if you will, and control the tides of our oceans. The early moon has light and dark areas, which tells us that it once had a molten crust that crystallized to form the gray landscape we see now. Our moon was likely created when a Mars-sized object collided with the Earth 4.5 billion years ago, and the moon formed out of the molten debris. Our moon is doing the exact opposite of Mars' Phobos moon and is being pushed away by the tidal bulge of the Earth. The result is that the moon is getting farther away from Earth by 1.6 inches per year, and the planet's rotation is slowing. But when the sun turns into a red giant, the drag by the sun's atmosphere will cause the moon's orbit to decay, and it will get closer to the Earth until it reaches the rush limit, which is 11,470 miles above our planet, where it will be torn apart and form a Saturn-like ring of debris around the Earth equator. But there's no need to worry about this. We've got about 4.5 billion years left until this happens. Music. The sun is 93 million miles away from us and measures a staggering 865,000 miles across, big enough to fit 1 million Earths inside. It has been studied with great interest for thousands of years, and yet we know very little about it. But humanity is on a mission to touch the sun, and advanced telescopes are being built on Earth and some sent into space to help us solve the sun's greatest mysteries. Mankind's greatest inventions are now sending back incredible images of our star as you've never seen it before. Music. Sitting at the center of our solar system is a nearly perfect sphere of burning, sizzling plasma radiating intense heat, and light. Earth resides in the vast atmosphere of the sun, which creates a complex space environment that sometimes interferes with space technology, communications, navigation systems, and utility grids. If we can predict severe space weather from the sun in future, it could help us prepare for solar storms, but we need to get closer to understand it now. New telescopes on Earth are taking images of the sun in mind melting detail. The Daniel K. Inouye Solar Telescope sits on top of a mountain on the island of Maui in Hawaii and is the world's largest sun spotting telescope. On January 30th, 2020, the telescope snapped some high-resolution images of the sun showing a pattern of turbulent boiling plasma covering the surface. The hot solar plasma rising in the bright centers of the cell cools off and sinks below the surface in dark lanes, a process called convection. But the Inouye Solar Telescope was just getting warmed up. An image taken on December 11th, 2020 is the most detailed photo of a sunspot that humans have ever seen, showing magnetic structures. As long as 12 miles, the sunspot appears as a fiery heart that is 10,000 miles across. That's big enough for the Earth to fit inside. The dark region is a concentration of magnetic fields that block heat within the sun from reaching its surface. Even though this dark area of the sunspot is cooler than the brighter parts, it's still more than 7,500 degrees Fahrenheit. It was discovered that stretching out from those dark regions thought to be empty are strands of hot electrified gases that stretch out for miles. The amazing images showed that Each strand is 1.8 million degrees Fahrenheit. The most incredible thing is that the Inouye Solar Telescope captured this image of the sunspot before the facility was completed, meaning the telescope will be capable of producing even more amazing images using its advanced optics and 13-foot primary mirror. Currently, these are the best images taken of the sun from Earth, but now there are telescopes out in space that can take even better images. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory was launched into geosynchronous orbit above the Earth on February 11th. 2010. It's a cargo van-sized piece of equipment that has three main instruments: the Atmospheric Imaging Assembly, which is a battery of 4 telescopes that are designed to photograph the sun's surface and atmosphere; the Extreme Ultraviolet Variability Experiment EVE, that measures the sun's ultraviolet output; and the Alioseismic and Magnetic Imager, which can map solar magnetic fields and look below the sun's opaque surface. Using a technique called alioseismology, studying the sun by listening to it and observing vibrations on its surface, it's been recording the sun for over 10 years, and in time-lapse footage you can see an extreme ultraviolet wavelength showing the sun's outer corona and the rise and fall of the solar cycle. The sun goes through a solar cycle every 11 years where it expands and retracts in size. When this happens, the sun's north and south poles trade places. This cycle has been observed for centuries by changes in the appearance of the sun itself, as well as phenomena like the northern lights here on Earth. Over the course of this 11-year cycle, activity on the sun can be observed in a state of synchronized fluctuations. Solar flares, coronal mass ejections, sunspot coronal loops, and even the level of solar radiation are all tied to these 11-year cycles. From planet Earth, the sun looks like a rather stable celestial body, but as we get closer, we can see the sun is very volatile. Solar flares occasionally shoot out of the surface, blasting a large cloud of energetic and highly magnetized plasma into space called coronal mass ejections. On July 19, 2012, the ultra-high-definition telescope aboard NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory captured hours of stunning footage of a solar flare erupting from the sun. The gigantic arc, much bigger than the planet Earth. The compressed footage shows a million-degree plasma begin to cool and fall to the surface, an electrifying magnetic downpour of coronal rain. The charged plasma is strongly influenced by the sun's magnetic field. As the plasma rains down, it condenses along twisted magnetic field lines close to the surface, forming giant streaming arcs, some as tall as 5 Earths. On April 17, 2016, the Solar Orbiter captured stunning images of a mid-level solar flare erupting from the surface of the sun. The amazing footage may help us understand what causes these powerful bursts of radiation. Powerful flares happen all the time, but solar flares aren't always strong enough to create mass coronal ejections of plasma. Most of the time they show up as bright spots on the surface, but when plasma is kicked out of the sun, it can be a breathtaking phenomenon. The largest flares could have the potential to cause worldwide blackouts across the Earth if a solar flare big enough were to hit us, and the Earth has almost been hit recently by a solar flare. In November 2020, a very large solar flare erupted from the sun and narrowly missed the Earth, but there's no need to panic, as this sort of activity isn't happening all the time, and when it does happen, the flare would have to be timed just right. Even though we have the powerful telescope in orbit, we have other spacecraft headed toward the sun right now. A joint project by NASA and the European Space Agency, the $550 million Solar Orbiter, was launched February 2020 and is one of the most complex scientific spacecraft to be sent towards the sun. The Solar Orbiter was sent on a mission to take the first ever pictures of the north and south poles of the sun. The probe carries 10 different instruments on board, including high-resolution telescopes and other measuring devices. Its objective is to get as close as 26 million miles from the sun and study the massive fireball at a tilt in orbit, allowing it to view the poles directly, places no human has ever seen before. Solar Orbiter has to withstand incredible temperatures from minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit in the cold of space to over 900 degrees Fahrenheit as it approaches the sun. Because of this, the instruments on board are protected by a titanium heat shield that has a calcium phosphate coating, but the environment is so harsh that it does not have a camera facing the sun. Despite this, the Solar Orbiter has taken some incredible photographs and footage on its way to the sun. On November 18, 2020, the heliospheric imager camera on board the spacecraft grabbed images of Venus, Earth, and Mars. New images of the sun taken just 48 million miles from its surface are the closest images ever captured by cameras, and they revealed something never seen before: mini flares all over the sun, a millionth the size of a regular solar flare, called campfires. It's not clear yet what these mini flares are, but they could be mini explosions called nanoflares, which may help heat the sun's atmosphere. You probably didn't know that the surface of the sun has a relatively cool surface temperature of 9,941 degrees Fahrenheit, but It's surrounded by a super hot atmosphere of more than 1,000,000 degrees, and that's not all. It was about 80 years ago when scientists found the temperature of the solar corona is much hotter than the surface of the sun by 5 million degrees Fahrenheit. The high temperatures of the corona cause it to expand into space as a continuous outflow of plasma called the solar wind. It extends past the planets, forming a bubble called the heliosphere wrapping around everything in the solar system. But how? The sun accelerates the solar wind and propagates it out to the solar system is a giant mystery. To investigate this and other strange solar phenomena, the $1.5 billion Parker Solar Probe was launched in 2018 to study the outer corona of the sun. It will fly very close to the sun, coming within 4 million miles of the fiery plasma ball. That's 7 times closer than any spacecraft has come before. You may be wondering, if the probe gets so close to the sun, won't it burn up the Parker Solar Probe is designed to swoop through the sun's super-hot outer atmosphere, but in order to survive the high temperature and complete its 7-year mission, it needs to be traveling very fast, so it will swing by Venus a total of 7 times. One of the first images Parker's solar probe took during its close encounter with the sun shows a streamer of plasma in the outer solar corona. The bright spot below the photo is the planet Mercury. By the end of its mission, in late 2025, at its closest approach, Parker's solar probe will be hurtling around the sun at 430,000 miles per hour. The front of Parker's solar probe shield will face radiation and heat as high as 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, but the instruments on the other side will be near room temperature. What do you think the Parker solar probe will discover, and what do you think the poles of the sun will look like when the solar orbiter completes its mission? By studying the star that we live with, we'll learn more about other stars in the universe, and we may be able to predict when solar storms will erupt. With everything that we've learned, we still don't know what's inside the sun, but that could change very soon. If you enjoyed the video, then stay tuned so you won't miss out on our next upcoming video. Real images from the solar system before modern telescopes. Humans could only imagine what the surface of the sun and the planets look like. Now advanced technology has made it possible to get in close and take images of the sun and the planets deep in our solar system. Now get ready to see the solar system as you've never seen it before, and see images that were so good they shocked astronomers. Burning with the energy of 1 trillion nuclear bombs per second, the sun is the largest body in our solar system, accounting for 99.86% of the total mass. One of the most dramatic images of the sun was captured by the Solar Dynamics Observatory on August 31, 2012, when a long filament of solar material that had been hovering in the sun's atmosphere erupted into outer space. This beautiful but deadly coronal mass ejection, CME, traveled at over 900 miles per second. The planet closest to the sun orbiting at an average distance of 36 million miles. Mercury has been studied by many spacecraft throughout the years, but NASA's Messenger spacecraft was the first to orbit the planet. Images showed the surface covered in craters in all sizes and massive asteroid impact sites like the Vantage crater, which is 168 miles in diameter, and the Caloris Basin, which is 960 miles in diameter, with mountains at the outer rim 1.2 miles high. These are images with spectral surface measurements that were taken on April 29, 2015. Messenger snapped more than 200,000 images of Mercury before ending its mission in 2015 with an intentional crash into planet's surface. The probe's demise was inevitable, as Messenger had been orbiting Mercury since March 2011 and had run out of fuel right before impact. It sent back its final image, the highest resolution photo of Mercury ever captured. You'd think that Mercury would be the hottest planet because it's the closest to the sun, but our next planet is actually the hottest in the solar system. The second planet from the sun, and also Earth's closest neighboring planet, Venus, has a thick atmosphere made up mostly of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen gas, which traps the heat of the sun, making it a hellish world. Venera 13 was a probe built in the Soviet Union for the Venera program to explore Venus. It was the first lander to transmit color images from the surface of Venus. Venus is a hot world with surface temperatures as high as 880 degrees Fahrenheit. The probe was designed to only last 30 minutes, but it must have been built like a tank because it continued to transmit data and images for more than 2 hours. After landing on March 1, 1982, NASA then sent a Magellan spacecraft to Venus in 1990 to image and map the entire surface. It sent back images of the planet's surface showing evidence of volcanism, tectonic plate movement, turbulent surface winds, and miles of lava channels, including one measuring 5,550 miles long. Another incredible image of the volcano map Mons that rises 3 miles. Once Magellan was finished mapping the entire surface, it also ended its mission and crashed into the fiery planet. The third rock from the sun. The Earth is very unique and the only place known to have life in the solar system. There have been lots of amazing images taken of the planet we live on, but modern satellite photos are probably the most breathtaking, like this image from NASA of the Earth as it looks right now. This Amazing true color image was taken by NASA's moderate-resolution imaging spectrodiometer from 000 miles above the Earth and shows North and South America, as they appear from orbit, the Moon also making a guest appearance in the background, and on December 14, 2020, NASA captured a total solar eclipse with the GOES 16. That's quite amazing, but here's something you may not have seen. In March 2011, a Russian satellite named Electro-L captured incredibly detailed images of the Earth that appear to rival NASA images. Many claim that they are more accurate and show different things, but NASA say they're not accurate. We're not sure, but which images do you think are the best? And by the way, remember the Messenger spacecraft that snapped a photo of the Earth and of the Moon and sent as a postcard before speeding towards Mercury. Mars has always been of great interest to humans. A fourth planet from the Sun, the red Martian planet, has been studied heavily. The Viking Orbiter 1 took stunning snapshot of Mars in 1979, like this photo of the Vias Marineris, and the Viking 2 orbiter snapped an image showing the southern polar plains and polar ice cap. In 2013, the Mars European Space Agency's Mars Express took highly detailed images of Hebes Chasma, the northernmost part of Vias Marineris, is seen in this movie created from the images, but since then 4 rovers have already been on the planet's surface studying and snapping photos of the images from the Mars Curiosity rover, including a selfie with the most incredible images from the surface of an alien world. This is a 1.8 billion panoramic view made up of over 1,200 images of Mars, as seen by Curiosity, which is still operational. The largest planet in our solar system, the gas giant Jupiter, has the most unique look of all the planets, with its giant great red spot, a storm on the planet that's been raging for 350 years and is so large it could swallow the Earth whole. On July 10, 2017, the Juno spacecraft flew just 5,600 miles above the Great Red Spot and nabbed the closest image of the massive storm ever taken. This image, a bit farther away, is a little bit truer in color to what we would see if we were orbiting Jupiter, but Juno also captured unbelievable images of polar regions which cannot be seen from Earth. And what surprised astronomers was that Jupiter's North Pole has 8 storms swirling at its center, and they are laid out in precise geometric pattern, the storms appearing as stable fixtures in Jupiter's atmosphere and not normal weather. But more incredible photos were coming. On November 13, 2018, a new image from Juno was created using data from the JunoCam imager that's nothing short of breathtaking, and on June 27, 2019, the Hubble telescope captured the planet's trademark Great Red Spot, which researchers say is shrinking. We got an awesome video coming up on Jupiter, so make sure not to miss it, as the #1 contender for the most beautiful celestial body in the solar system, Saturn, is hard to beat with its iconic rings, and probably the best images of Saturn to date come from the Cassini-Huygens spacecraft. On October 21, 2002, the spacecraft was 177 million miles away from Saturn when it snapped this photo, and on March 27, 2004, as it got closer, took this natural color image as it neared its arrival into Saturn's orbit. Now here's a mind-blowing image of Saturn you may never have seen before. This is Saturn backlit by the sun, and with that added light, Cassini was able to image the ring system in a way not possible from Earth, and the result is stunning. But in 2004, the Hubble telescope was also in on the action and snapped an amazing photo of an aurora. In 2016, the Cassini spacecraft sent back images of Saturn's northern hemisphere. What scientists were surprised to see was a hexagonal vortex storms. They've been studied, but no one's sure how this forms. On September 15, 2017, the spacecraft made its final approach towards a gas giant, and before sending this final image, burned up in Saturn's atmosphere like a meteor known as a sideways planet because it rotates on its side. The 7th planet from the Sun, one of the best images taken. Voyager 2 made a flyby of the planet in 1999, and this image was taken using 3 color filters, and on July 11th and 12th, 2004, a composite image of Uranus obtained by the Keck telescope was published, showing the icy cold world and its rings. Those bright spots that you see on the surface of the planet are auroras. In November 2011, the Hubble telescope snapped an awesome image of Uranus, and a colorized photo shows an icy blue sphere with red rings. In 2017, the Hubble telescope captured auroras again on Uranus. Neptune is the 8th planet in our solar system and the farthest away from the Sun. The only spacecraft that's been close to Neptune is Voyager 2. One image taken by the spacecraft shows a giant storm raging on the surface of the planet, Neptune's great dark spot. Before Voyager 2 would complete its mission and head towards interstellar space, it made a close approach and snapped this image showing bright cloud streaks in Neptune's atmosphere. The Hubble telescope has taken a recent image of Neptune, and in December 2020, it snapped this image with a great dark spot. Because it's so far away from us, The best images we have of Neptune from Earth so far were taken by the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope, using a special narrow-field adaptive optics mode of the multi-unit spectroscopic explorer instrument. Many argue whether Pluto is a planet or not, but you're here to see some photos. One of the clearest images of Pluto that you'll ever see was taken by the Long-Range Reconnaissance Imager aboard NASA's New Horizons spacecraft on July 13, 2015. But it wasn't done yet, and on the next day, this image was put together by combining blue, red, and infrared images taken by the spacecraft. The New Horizons spacecraft continued to take crystal-clear images of the planet. Pluto also has a moon-cold cairn, as seen in this composite of enhanced color images, and this image is the most striking, showing mountains across an isoplane. Humanity has achieved great results getting new images from planets in our solar system and making incredible discoveries. We're still too far away to get close images of Proxima Centauri, the next planetary system to ours, and current spacecraft headed in that direction will take thousands of years to get there. But there are plans to create a wafer-thin nanoprobe called breakthrough starshot that has thin sails to capture energy from a powerful Earth-based laser. This would accelerate the probe at millions of miles per hour, meaning the tiny probes could reach Proxima Centauri in 20 to 25 years. Just think of the images it could take. If that happens sometime soon, you'll see it here. What do we know about the universe? We've landed on the moon, explored Mars, and even reached interstellar space, and yet we know almost nothing about the universe. That's why when we see something new, it either shocks or surprises us, and today we'll show you some really cool stuff and probably something you've never seen before. NASA's Hubble telescope captured two pairs of distant quasars 10,000 light-years apart that existed around 10 billion years ago. This is a very unique image because the chance of seeing a double quasar is just 1 in 1,000. Using data from telescopes, this visualization shows the two sets of quasars strangely blinking and pouring out light because their galaxies are in the process of merging. Now check out this awesome image. It's a supernova remnant formed 10,000 years ago by the death of a massive star 20 times the mass of the Sun. In 2021, Hubble revisited the Veil Nebula, capturing fine details of the nebula's delicate threads and filaments of ionized gas, showing off incredible cosmic beauty. The Hubble's advanced camera for surveys captured this image of what looks like the face of a space ghost. The piercing eyes of this creepy cosmic wonder are the result of two distant galaxies in the middle of a head-on collision, the ring of young blue stars making up the eerie face. And here you can see the farthest and most primitive object in our solar system to ever be explored by a spacecraft. This is Arrokoth, a small Kuiper belt object that was spotted by the New Horizons science team using the Hubble telescope. First images showed it was shaped like a snowman, but further observations showed it was flat like a pancake. What do you think when you hear the word reef? Something related to an ocean reef, right? Well, there just so happens to be one in space. This Hubble Space Telescope 30th anniversary image is titled Cosmic Reef. It's a tapestry of blazing starbursts showing two neighboring clouds of cosmic dust and gas. A little bit closer to home, the Hubble Space Telescope nabbed this image of the Cat's Paw Nebula, one of the most active star-forming regions in our Milky Way galaxy. The paw pads are bubbles of gas and dust where stars more massive than our sun have formed. We want to tell you it's difficult to skip all the images because they are mind-blowing, but you're waiting for a strange object. So here's the strangest thing in our solar system. It's an odd dwarf planet named Haumea, which is about 10 times smaller than the Earth and has 2 moons. But what makes it so strange, you might be asking? Well, it's one of the fastest rotating objects in our solar system and spins so fast that the dwarf planet gets stretched into a football shape. You may have already seen images of the iconic pillars of creation, but now, based on years of data collection, it's possible to go on a journey right there. This jaw-dropping visualization takes us 100 years into a giant hollow that was formed by radiation and stellar winds from the birth of massive stars. Switch the image to infrared and the gas becomes transparent, revealing clusters of newborn stars. And this amazing image shows the star AG Carinii, one of the brightest stars in our galaxy, which is waging a tug-of-war between gravity and radiation to avoid self-destruction. The expanding shell of gas and dust surrounding the star is 5 light-years wide, and was created by eruptions about 10,000 years ago. This is a new spectacular image showing the interaction of 2 doom stars that created the ring of bright clumps of gas. Looks like a diamond necklace. Another interstellar visitor entered our solar system in 2019 after the famous Oumuamua, but you don't need to be a NASA scientist to make a small impact in astronomy. Crimean amateur astronomer and telescope maker Gennady Borisov captured the racing comet now named 2I Borisov. It came closest to us on December 28, 2019, and astronomers said the tail of the comet was 14 times the size of the Earth. Now let's look at something really unique captured by the Chandra X-ray Observatory in 2020. The glowing purple dot in the middle of this image is a magnetar, a special class of neutron stars that possesses extremely powerful magnetic fields, and this dense star is rotating once every 1.4 seconds. This is a doomed supermassive star to Cassini. The hot expanding gas is glowing in brilliant red, white, and blue, a slow-motion cosmic firework display that started 170 years ago and is still continuing. This image was recently captured showing an active galaxy which is 156 million light-years from Earth. The region is emitting lots of light, but dust clouds create a visual effect of rays of light that extend 36,000 light-years. In 2020, Hubble was also retrained on NGC 6302, or the Butterfly Nebula. The wings of gas you see are at 19,982 degrees Celsius and tearing across space at more than 965,000 kilometers per hour. Also in 2020, the largest known spiral galaxy was discovered, also known as Rubin's Galaxy. It's approximately 800,000 light-years in diameter and has nearly 10 times as many stars as our own Milky Way galaxy. Have you ever witnessed the birth of a star? Well, the Hubble telescope captured an image of a star being born in the constellation Cassiopeia on the corner of a nebula cloud about 7,500 light-years away, and this is a spectacular full image of the nebula cloud where the star is being formed. Another image taken with Hubble in the constellation of Cassiopeia shows a new star-forming nursery known as free-floating evaporating gas globules, or FIEGGs for short. When a massive new star is born, radiation from the star ionizes the cloud's hydrogen and creates a large, hot bubble of ionized gas. This is a lagoon nebula, and the beautiful glow at the center comes from a huge star called Herschel 36. It's so bright it illuminates the entire nebula. The beautiful gas and dust clouds that you see are from the Monkey Head Nebula, 6,400 light-years from Earth. Eventually, this material will come together under the force of gravity, forming clumps that will birth new stars. The glow comes from new stars that are bright and hot, illuminating the remaining dust in the nebula. This stunning new image is of the Small Magellanic Cloud, which is a satellite of the Milky Way and orbits around the edge of our galaxy. It can even be seen by the naked eye in certain places on Earth because it's so bright. The Tarantula Nebula has been making stars for the last 25 million years, and it shows. There are actually two clusters of stars in this image that are in the process of merging together. Not all galaxies are a perfect spiral, and here's a good example. This spectacular new image from NASA of a spiral galaxy is 120 million light-years away and is being pulled out of shape by gravitational interaction and intense star formation. The Hubble Space Telescope continues to our astronomers and grabbed a face-on image of a starburst galaxy. This is M61, located in the Virgo cluster, with its spiral arms and regions of star formation shown in red. If you've ever wondered how many galaxies are out there, this new image recently taken by NASA with the Hubble telescope gives you some idea. This is Galaxy Cluster Able 295, that's 3.5 billion light-years away, and shows all shapes and sizes of galaxies. This is another amazing image from the Hubble telescope showing spiral galaxy NGC 5037 in the constellation of Virgo, which is an astounding 150 million light-years away from Earth. We got some of our own star clusters in the Milky Way. This new image shows the nebula Westerlund 2, which is some of the hottest and brightest stars in our galaxy. The Bubble Nebula is a beautiful cosmic object that's 7 light-years across and is formed by a superhot star that's 45 times more massive than our Sun and is creating stellar winds that are traveling over 6.4 million kilometers per hour. And this NASA Hubble Space Telescope image shows what some astronomers call the Black Eye or Evil Eye Galaxy because of the dark band of dust that sweeps across one side of its bright nucleus. So what do you think about this video? Should we do more like this, or do our awesome viewers want to see something else? Let us know in the comments. Stay tuned to see more of our incredible universe, and thanks for watching Dark Core.